Here we are. Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham, and we are presented by Prize Picks. Hope everybody had a fantastic holiday weekend. It's a new week. The USA are playing tonight, and we got plenty of Bears stuff to talk about. Some Caleb Williams QB rankings talk. ESPN put out an article projecting the Bears starting lineup, and then also had like their biggest strength, weakness, etc. We'll take your questions. So plenty to discuss here on today's show. Shout out your city. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Cullen, we've got USA, Belgium. Flo Balogun has been freed. We'll see how that plays out. And we're about T-minus 3 weeks until training camp. So we're getting closer. We're crawling toward football.
Yeah, football is, as I unmute myself here. There we go. 1, 2, we're live. Yeah, we've got some Bears content here, some ESPN. It seems like every offseason, they always tend to do something with these kind of roster outlook, like these projected starters, where it's just quite not up to snuff. And for the Bears, it was no different, so we'll go through that. We got a little Caleb versus segment, ranking Caleb Williams versus the other quarterbacks in terms of considering everything. And, of course, answering you guys' questions. So happy to get into that one. And, of course, the United States takes on Belgium, as you mentioned. So,
by the way, we will be live on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel for that. This stream will redirect to that stream. So when we sign off, if you want to hang out in the chat and chop it up with our guys Jeffrey Cooperstein and Sam Brown, they will be live for USA Belgium on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel. So you will be redirected to that stream once we sign off. But appreciate everybody tuning in. We got Jason in Rockford, Illinois. We've got Kellen in the Chicago area, Jim in Trevor, Wisconsin, Lefty in Macon, Georgia, Shy Guy in Frisco, Texas. We got Winter Haven, Florida from Daniel. Appreciate everybody rocking and rolling with us for that. Tempe, Arizona from Harris.
shout out to Frisco, Texas. That's kind of over by my neck of the woods.
Yeah, down the highway here from the Chat Sports Studios. So
love that.
Shout out. Denver, Colorado is where Ray Lewandowski is hanging out. Got Harley. Let's see. We got Mudvayne in Missouri. Appreciate everybody for being here, hanging out on a Monday. We also appreciate Prize Picks for making this all possible. They are sponsoring today's show. Pick more or less on player stat projections, 2 or more players regardless of sport. If you hit, you win money, and I'm feeling pretty good. World Cup's been awesome. Baseball's been great. Football will be back before you know it as well. I am trending towards hitting a 4-player lineup here today. I've already hit both players on the from the game earlier. Diego Costa, more than 2.5 saves. He zoomed past that. He had a great game for Portugal, kept him in the game. Also got 2 shots on target from Lamine Yamal, which is a demon play. And Flo Balogun, more than half a pass. That is a max discount, so unless he never passes the ball, that's going to hit, which means all I need is Captain America, Christian Pulisic, more than half a goal or assist. If that happens, then I get $77.50, $10 for $77.50 on that one. If you want to tail any of my future lineups, at HGramNFL in the social feeds tab, you can find me. Sign up and play for $5. You'll get $50 instantly in Prize Picks lineups, just $5 to get $50 in lineups with our code HMA. So check out Prize Picks today. We appreciate them sponsoring today's show. Okay, so we're getting to our Caleb versus segment today. We did this last year. We're running it back. How many quarterbacks would you take ahead of Caleb Williams? Now, in the segment, we're factoring in everything: age, contract, short-term versus long-term. It's not just 2026 in mind. If you want to factor in contract projection, all these things factor in. So it's not just for this upcoming season. I've put out my list on 4verts of 2026 QB rankings just for this season. I had Caleb Williams 10th on that ranking. But if you're factoring in long-term, we'll see how many quarterbacks I have ahead of Caleb when we get to that segment later on today. Kellen in the chat says 4. How many guys would you guys take ahead of Caleb Williams? It's an interesting conversation because obviously you got the big hitters at the top that you would still take, but a guy like Matt Stafford could be in his last couple of seasons. You'd probably opt with the young guy there with the long term in mind. Giovanni says Ronaldo officially eliminated. Thanks for the memories, greatest ever. Yeah, I lean Messi over Ronaldo, but Ronaldo's an all-time great, and he had a decent cup, Colin. He just doesn't impact the game he used to. When he gets touches near the box, he can still be effective, but the speed isn't what it was. He doesn't really get back and play any defense anymore. So I think Portugal would have been better off if they used him kind of like the way Belgium uses Lukaku. It's kind of like, hey, give us 25, 30 good minutes off the bench in the second half, but I just think he has so much carries so much weight with Portugal, and rightfully so to a certain extent. They were not going to not start him, but I think they would have been better off if they used him as kind of a situational sub for kind of some instant offense in the second half. But he bows out. That's all she wrote.
Yeah, one of the greatest soccer players in the history of the sport. No longer will be competing in international play for Portugal. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how Portugal progresses from here. I mean, they've got some young talent now, but yeah, you can always do the what if game, right? Or, hindsight 50-50 with in terms of how they should have used him. Would it have worked if he had been a super sub or not? I think regardless, Spain would have been a tough team to knock out.
Yeah, not sure they beat Spain. The question is, do they win the group instead of getting second in the group if they use them that way? Because who did they tie? Congo in their first game? That cost them because they ended up tying Colombia as well, and Colombia won the group. So, we'll never know. I don't think they were good enough to win the tournament, but maybe they get a better draw and go further. But he is out, and obviously got USA-Belgium tonight.
Omega Sphere says, I'm just glad that I can watch Monday Night Football tonight in Seattle.
Hey, your 12s better show up, Colin. I mean, no pressure. No pressure. It's a big spot.
Well, listen, it's arguably the biggest game in United States soccer history, at least in recent memory, that's for sure.
It's the biggest game since the last time they played Belgium, I would say, in the bracket stage.
Yeah.
If they can win tonight, I think this is their best run ever. I mean, I know way back in the day, earlier on in World Cup history, but in the past 50 years, this is easily their best run if they could get through tonight. And look, if they win tonight, they're going to be a pretty healthy dog against Spain. So you're kind of playing with house money after this game if you can get it tonight. I wouldn't call this tournament a failure if they lost tonight, but I think it'd be one of those where it's kind of a missed opportunity. You'd like to have a crack at Spain and just give them your best shot on home soil to try and pull off the upset, but got to take care of biz tonight first.
If there's one thing I'm pretty confident is the 12 showing out tonight. So
yeah, fans have been great. I would expect it to be loud.
It'll be awesome.
First awesome 15-20 minutes feel important. Get your legs into the game, create some chances. Yeah. Don't give up a cheap goal.
I asked one of our soccer guys here, the other Brown, Sam Brown. I said, the United States will win if this happens, if blank happens. And he says if they score the first goal, they will put themselves in a great position. The United States really hasn't been in that position where they've been down 1-0 a lot in this tournament. I don't think actually it's happened where they've allowed the first goal. So, yeah, it's big tonight, as you mentioned. And if they can get off to a strong start, it'll only bode well for their chances.
Someone in the chat says, if you think Messi is better than Ronaldo, then you don't know ball. I think there's a lot of similarities to the LeBron-Jordan debate where it's I do think Ronaldo is the more skilled and capable player as a bigger body, more dynamic attacker. I think Messi is just tactically a little bit of a better player. Ronaldo's peak was probably higher. I mean, just with his athletic profile. But also Messi has aged very well as a player. I mean, at 39 years old, he's still, a top 5 player in the world at worst?
Yeah.
Ronaldo isn't a bad player, but, he's not...
Yeah.
He's a situational offensive attacker, whereas Messi is still, if he's giving you 90 minutes, you feel confident he's going to give you 90 good minutes. So, I don't think it's a clear-cut debate. I would just lean Messi, but I will say this, and soccer Twitter was making a pretty good point about this. Messi has gotten much better draws over the years in the World Cup. Like Ronaldo has gotten this. Oh, I mean, listen. I'm not taking anything away from Argentina. This has been Mickey Mouse. Like you would think they're a home nation with the draw they've gotten. I mean, this
could sleepwalk damn near to the semifinal.
I mean, they could have lost to Cape Verde.
They could have. Respect to Cape Verde.
Oh, I mean, listen. One of the stories of the tournament. That game was incredible. The World Cup's been awesome.
It's been electric, and Messi still being this great at this age. I mean, he's always been, I think, the more well-rounded soccer player where, as you mentioned, Ronaldo might be the more athletically gifted player. The fact that these two are still producing at the level that they are this late in their careers is nothing short of spectacular and sensational. Also, Mexico, England last night. One of the best soccer games I've ever seen.
The atmosphere lived up to the hype, and I would say the game outperformed expectations. I mean, back and forth, high scoring, chances created. You had the drama you're looking for, a red card, penalty kicks, England packing the box for the final, felt like forever, 30 minutes or so. 11 minutes of stoppage time. That was fantastic. It's the only thing that could have made it better is if it did get to extra time. Mm-hmm. And you felt like if it did, Mexico probably would have won because I don't know how England could have survived another 30-plus minutes.
Down a man.
I mean, they weren't going to be able to score. They were just going to have to survive for penalties. But they found a way, and Jude Bellingham, I think he had, the best individual performance of the tournament.
Yeah, he was phenomenal.
That one, and then probably number 2 was also yesterday with
Erling
Haaland against Brazil. I mean, I just think Bellingham, what he does on both ends. I mean, he scored twice in 90 seconds, and he saved at least one, if not 2 or 3 potential Mexico goals. He was all over the place.
One of the best in the world for sure, and he played like it in a game where England desperately needed him.
The thing about England, too, is when you have 2 top 15 players,
I'd say
that goes
top 10.
Top 10. That goes a long way with him and Harry Kane.
Yeah.
And their goalkeeper's good.
Yeah.
That's a good combination to have. Two elite players, one of the better strikers, one midfielder who plays offense and defense, then an elite goaltender. That's why a lot of people picked England. We'll see if they can bring it home, as the kids say. All right, plenty of soccer talk. Obviously, it's slow time of the year for the NFL, but we got a lot of Bears stuff to get into as well. Hit that like button. Let's get more Bears fans in the chat here. Shout out to the 150 or so hanging out on a Monday. We will take your questions, by the way, so load up the chat. Hashtag Bears Super Chat. Get your questions in on the show. If you Super Chat, it's a guarantee to get on the show unless you say out-of-pocket shit. Or hashtag Bears, you can get on. And, again, this time of year when it's slower, good chance to get multiple questions answered. So if you got multiple questions, fire them in there. Hashtag Bears or Super Chat. ESPN also unveiled a Bears roster outlook for all 32 teams, but also specifically the Bears, which we'll break down. And then Caleb Williams' verse is back. Where do I rank Caleb Williams when you factor in short-term, long-term, age, contract, etc.? How many quarterbacks do I take over the Bears QB1? We'll get into that as well. It's all coming up here on Chicago Bears Now. I'm Harrison Graham, and Chicago Bears Now is presented by Prize Picks. ESPN released their roster outlook and rankings for all 32 teams. They have the Bears as the 17th best roster, which I went back and checked. That was the same as they had it in 2024 when the Bears went 5-12 in Matt Eberflus's final year. So I do have questions about that. I think that team underachieved, but I think this team is a lot better on paper. They also look at the projected starters. We're not going to go through all that, but a major whiff they have Noah Sewell as the Bears' third linebacker in base defense. He has a torn Achilles and is not going to be ready week 1. And even if he was, DeMarco Jackson's ahead of him. So that's kind of a whiff. And then the thing we'll break down and react to, they go through the Bears' biggest strength, biggest weakness, an X factor, and a non-starter to know. So reaction to all of that coming up here on today's show. Listen, I'm posting all over social media, including on Facebook, which we launched just a few months ago. If you search Harrison Graham Chat Sports on Facebook, you'll find my professional page, whatever you want to call it, and you'll see all my short-form content, Bears, NFL stuff, every single day. You can also follow me at the link below, facebook.com/hgrahamnfl. If you want to support me over there, I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. All right, let's get to it. The biggest strength from ESPN when it comes to the Bears roster is the offensive line. And here's what Mike Clay had to say about that. He says, after allowing a league-high 68 sacks in 2024, Chicago overhauled its offensive line during the 2025 offseason. It certainly paid off as the Bears led the NFL in pass block win rate, 73.6%, finished fifth in run block win rate at 73.5% last season. Standout guards Joe Thuney and Jonah Jackson return, as does right tackle off Darnell Wright. Garrett Bradbury was acquired to replace the retired Drew Dahlman at center. They don't mention the drafting of Logan Jones, but they brought him in as well, obviously. Projected left tackle, starting left tackle Ozzie Trapello tore his patellar tendon in January and might miss the season, but veteran Braxton Jones was brought back to keep things afloat. It's just nice, right? When 2 years ago, again, when ESPN ranked the Bears as the 17th best roster and still have it 17th for some reason. Back then, the Bears' offensive line was atrocious. It wasn't very good on paper, and it performed even worse. And now you have three pillars you feel good about, two big-time pillars, Darnell Wright and Joe Thuney, and you feel good about Jonah Jackson as well. The question is, how well and how good of play do you get at left tackle and center? But I think you know that the Bears' offensive line is very good. Can it be great? If it can, that changes a lot. As we saw last year, the Bears ended up having one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. We'll see how left tackle and center comes together, but man, does a good offensive line change a lot. I mean, that was a big problem 2024 and prior. The Bears could never piece together a good offensive line. They'd have one or two good starters, but the rest of the unit would be poor. Now you have three well above average to excellent starters. I think you'll get at least average level center play and hopefully at least average level left tackle play. If you get at least serviceable play at those two positions, you're going to be very good again. If you get better than that at left tackle and center, you could be excellent, if not one of the best lines again in the NFL. That changed pretty quickly. Shout out to Ben Johnson for making that an emphasis when he took the job. Okay, the Bears' biggest weakness, the defensive line. Where have we heard that before, right? I've certainly said it for years now, and especially once again this offseason. More from Mike Clay. He said Chicago didn't do much to upgrade the front line of a defense that ranked 31st in pass rush win rate at 28.8%, 26th in run stop win rate, 29.1%. Grady Jarrett and Javon Dexter return at defensive tackle, with journeyman Neville Gallimore the most notable rotation addition. There's plenty of upside at edge rusher, though, with some uncertainty. Montez Sweat, 10 sacks last year, is terrific. But third-year man Austin Booker has yet to play a full season, while Dayo Odeyingbo is recovering from a torn Achilles. And yeah, you know, we've certainly talked about this a lot, especially the edge position. Like, are they going to add another piece? I do agree with what Clay's saying. The upside is there at edge. If Booker takes another step and Sweat maintains his form, it's more of a depth question. Like, do you add someone to the mix there as well? We haven't talked as much about defensive tackle. I do want to get into that in a second. But again, the pass rush numbers just not good enough last year. Again, Sweat solid. Javon Dexter in a vacuum with 6 sacks is good, but very sporadic, and his down-to-down play, especially against the run, is very inconsistent. Austin Booker finished strong. We'll see if he can build off of that. I think an X factor for this team, and we'll talk about some other X factors, is Grady Jarrett. You know, They brought him in, and he kind of banged up his knee earlier in the year, and he never really felt quite the same. Missed a few games. That knee was heavily wrapped the rest of the season. Like, can he bounce back, or is he kind of just cooked? Like, is he just done? I don't think you're going to get the best out of Grady Jarrett. Like, I don't think he's rewinding the clock 5 years ago, but can he be solid? Can he be above average? I think that would be a nice improvement in the middle there to help stop the run and give you a little bit of pass rush juice. So I think he's a potential player to monitor this season to help this group out. All right, shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's video. The World Cup's just been scenes, it's been epic. How about that game at Azteca the other night? There is no better place to make money while watching sports than with the fine folks over at Prize Picks. The team picks are awesome, by the way. You can pick who's going to win or lose these games, take more or less on team goals, total goals, first half winner, second half winner, a total game winner. You can predict that the game's going to be tied through 90 minutes. There's so many options at your disposal. Of course, the bread and butter player picks lineups. Feel good about this one as we're filming live. As long as Captain America got me a goal or an assist on Monday night, this one hits 10 to win 77.50. So you can check out all of my lineups on the social feeds tab at HGramNFL. Get started today. Use code HMA to get $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5 lineup. Code HMA, $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5 lineup. Okay, X Factor. Caleb Williams, interesting choice. To an extent, I understand what they're saying, but to me, he doesn't really fall in the X Factor category. I'll explain that part of it here in a little bit, but Seth Walder named him the X Factor. He said for all his highlights last season, there are still plenty to iron out in Williams' game, with accuracy becoming the most critical. He ranked last among QBR-qualified quarterbacks in off-target rate and completion percentage over expected per next-gen stat. If he can bring those numbers just to league average, that would result in a big step for him and the offense, but that's a big if. These are all things we've talked about. Too many missed throws, needs to be more accurate, especially on some of the simpler throws. We know all of that. But I think this is kind of a misuse of X Factor, because to me, X Factor is like, you have no idea what you're getting out of the player. I think we feel pretty good about Caleb Williams' floor, right? Where maybe it's a little inconsistent in terms of down-to-down, series-to-series, but like he's going to elevate in big spots. He's going to generate a lot of big plays. His turnover rate's going to be pretty low. Like, I think you feel good that you have a good starting quarterback. The question is, how much more can he jump? And that's where I'll defend the X Factor a little bit. Like, if he jumps to one of the best quarterbacks in the league, like, yeah, that changes a lot for this team, but X Factor to me is more like you don't really know what you're going to get out of a player. I think you feel pretty good about where Caleb Williams' floor is, because despite being like at the bottom in a lot of the accuracy type of stats, you still got good level quarterback play last year, which is why, to Walder's point, if he can become league average in some of those stats, then you're cooking with gas. Then you have one of the best players in the league at the quarterback position. But I look more at guys like Austin Booker. Like, was the end of last season fluky, or like, is he now like a 10-sack player? Like, that would be a positive thing, and certainly an X factor for the Stephens. Kyler Gordon's health, if he gives you 15 games, that's a big deal. Same with Jalen Johnson, by the way. Tyreek Stevenson, if he becomes that consistent outside corner, that's a big deal for this team. Braxton Jones, if he plays like Ozzie did down the stretch last year, and you kind of don't miss a beat at that position, that's an X factor to me versus a revolving door at left tackle. And then Dylan Thieneman being a rookie. If he pairs with Kobe Bryant and is a clear upgrade over Jaquan Brisker, that's kind of a big deal. So I don't love the use of X factor here. I understand kind of what they're saying, because there's certainly a lot of room to grow, but to me, there's still a pretty high floor with Caleb Williams, which we've seen through 2 years, especially last season. Who do you guys think is the Bears' X factor in 2026? To me, Booker's the one I keep pointing to. I think we know he's at least decent, but like, can he be like a high-level starter for 17 games? That still is a relative unknown. Okay, non-starter to know, Dayo Odeyingbo. I do actually like this one when it comes to this pick. Aaron Schatz writes, Dayo Odeyingbo agreed to a big free agent contract last year to come over from Indianapolis, but was disappointing with just 1 sack and 8 starts before getting hurt. Can he get healthy and get his groove back? The Bears need edge help behind Sweat and Booker. And I think this one's significant because obviously the Bears paid him to be a starter. I don't think he's going to start. I think Booker's the other starter. Dayo has 1 sack over his last 17 games, and now he's coming off a torn Achilles. Now, to his credit, he got back, seems to be healthy, was ready to go for OTAs and minicamp. We'll see if he's full go with the pads on at training camp. That's a storyline we'll monitor for him. But it's not like he's never produced. Like, when they signed him, it was like, okay, sack-wise coming off a little bit of a down year, but some of the advanced numbers show, okay, 2024 and 2023 were pretty similar. but like he has an 8-sack season. He had 5 sacks the year before. Like if you average those 3 prior years when he played all 17 games, 16 sacks gives you like 5.5 sacks a game. Like, can he give you 4 to 5 sacks? He's done it before. Now, again, he's not going to live up to what his contract says, but like if he gives you 4 to 5 sacks and is solid against the run, would we not take that at this point? Like, that would be huge, especially if he's not a starter. If he's just a rotation guy that can play inside and out. It's like, hey, he plays half the snaps. He's solid against the run. He gives you some juice as an interior pass rusher from time to time. Like, sign me up. I'll take it because up to this point, 8 games into his Bears career, it's been a borderline disaster. So we'll see if he can get back to at least playing some solid football. So there you have it. ESPN's roster outlook. Biggest strength, offensive line. Biggest weakness, defensive line. Not much disagreement there. X factor, Caleb Williams. He's obviously a big factor, but I think we kind of at least know the floor is pretty high there. And then Dayo Odeyingbo, a non-starter to know. We'll see if he can produce as a rotation guy on a defensive line that needs more production. All right, my name is Harrison Graham. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode. If you made it to the end of the video, hit that subscribe button on the way out if you haven't already, and we'll be back soon with more videos. All right, hashtag Bears or Super Chat. We'll take your questions.
That is a question we'll get into the mailbag, so we'll answer that here in just a moment. But if you want to be like Daryl, you can also Super Chat to get in on a mailbag segment that we're about to have here in a moment. But you could also use hashtag Bears to also get it.
Yeah, good time of year to get your questions answered. Good time of year to get multiple questions answered. We're getting closer and closer to training camp. We'll ramp up some pre-training camp content, especially next week probably with some, training camp battle, storylines entering training camp, that type of thing. So be on the lookout for that as we get closer.
Yeah, I got some good questions in there so far. Get a couple more and we'll start this.
Fire in a few more. Shout out to Jason for getting one in there. And we'll be good to go. We will be good to go. All right.
Oh, man. Good.
Man, I'm getting psyched for this game. I just hope it's not a letdown. Like, it would suck if we lost like 3-1 or something. It's just like not a game.
Not even letting that thought enter my mind.
I just hope we haven't woken up a beast in Belgium with this flow thing. I don't think we have. I just hope we haven't. Seattle's going to be rocking, though. Seattle's going to be rocking. I'm actually flying to San Diego Friday for a little kind of long weekend trip.
Mm-hmm.
And if we win, we play Friday. So I got to find a spot to watch the game.
Yeah, you do.
I got to find – we land at like 10 a.m. local time there. So, like, I'm thinking, like, find, like, a lunch sports bar spot to eat some lunch and watch the game. So we'll see if that can be accomplished.
Have you ever been to San Diego before, or is this your first time?
We went on a family trip when I was growing up, but it's been almost 20 years. I was like 13.
Yeah.
Loved it, though, when I went.
Yeah. I have a buddy that used to be in the Marines. He was stationed
there?
Yeah, Oceanside. Some of the best Mexican food in the country you'll find in San Diego.
Yeah.
So
good Mexican food. The only thing they don't do queso out there.
They don't. They
good guac, though. They're good guac. A lot of taco spots out there. One of my buddies from college, he actually does stuff with the Padres.
Nice.
He's from there, so need to hit him up before I get out there. Some Rex.
Does he know Xavier Pond?
Yeah. Talk to Ponzi? No, I don't know. I doubt he knows him. They're about 15 years apart.
Shout out to Ponzi. Harley, that's a good question.
Get a couple more in there. Hashtag Bears or Super Chat, and then we'll hop into our mailbag here.
Yeah.
Hop into our mailbag here. Giovanni says it probably won't happen, but don't be surprised if Ronaldo is still with Portugal for the 2030 World Cup. I wondered if there was a slight chance because the next World Cup is in Spain, Portugal, and is the third country Morocco? I can't remember the third country, but I did wonder if he would try to push, but I just don't think Portugal really wants him to play anymore. Like 4 years from now.
I think he also announced that he was done. It's just like once you kind of make that decision, yes, you could technically go back on it, but
I mean, maybe he's involved with like in some kind of way, but
Yeah.
like I just if he plays, there's no way he's a starter. Like
No,
he's a deeper.
yeah.
He'll be
I think he'd
45.
I was gonna say I think he'd be a guy they'd bring in for like a pregame pep talk or something, or like I don't know.
Maybe he's on the training. I don't know,
Yeah.
but does he even want to be on the staff? I'm sure he'll represent Portugal in some capacity there, but I just don't. 4 years is a long time, man. Like if he's clearly like lost a step. I mean, is he does incredibly well with his body, but like 45, I think Messi could maybe do it because his game is not predicated on elite athleticism. But I just would be surprised if we saw any more out of Ronaldo. Okay. I think we got enough to get going. Hashtag Bears Super Chat.
And that Super Chat definitely helps too.
Load in those questions.
Do we want to show that in the mail? Do you want to show it because of obviously?
Can you read only?
Let me see.
Just delete the second part of it for the mailbag. Does that work?
Let me see.
We want to use your question in the
I think I can.
Mailbag, Wasim.
I think I can. Let me just.
We can flash it out as it is now before mailbag, and then we'll take out the F Belgium part. A, because when people watch this later in the week, it'll be after the game, and B, I doubt YouTube would do anything, but don't want to get flagged for an F-bomb on screen during a segment.
But
we can flash it real quick, though.
13 stripes, 50 stars. We don't give a fuck who you are, USA.
What's that? Who's that again?
I don't know who it was, but I saw it on Twitter, and it's been going through my head all day. We'll let it load in, Wasim. But he says, based on Gordon's history, what's the backup plan next year? Also says F Belgium and the trash who don't realize America's greatness. Love everything about that Super Chat. Wasim.
I don't know. I don't think there is a clear backup plan. I think Cam Lewis was brought in to be a guy who's got some experience, who could play there. He's kind of a nickel safety hybrid. They gave Malik Muhammad some reps early on at nickel. I actually heard recently he was banged up toward the end of minicamp. That's why we didn't hear much from him. So he got nicked up during OTAs. Doesn't sound serious, but got that going on. And yeah, we'll see if we can back it up tonight. You got Portnoy running his mouth on social media. This is just one of I just hope we aren't front running too much for a country that's not great in soccer historically. So we'll see. I just it's the what's the old phrase? Something along the lines of like don't put the cart before the horse. Like Belgium is going to come out of the gates hot, I would imagine. So
I think
let's see if we can back it up. If we don't, we're going to have to wear this one. I mean, that's how
it's also
it goes.
Like the United States, like you get to be this way because no one really expected us to even get this far. Like it kind of came into the tournament. It's like, all right, Turkey's probably rated the highest in the group. You hope the United States make it to the knockout stage, and then if they were to make it to the knockout stage, like would they even win a game? The fact that you won the group. You've won a knockout game. Like, you're playing with house money as it is.
See, I don't think you're playing with house money. We've been to the round of 16 plenty times. Winning in the round of 32 is not some Would
you not say that this is a successful World Cup trip for the United States?
Yes, but I don't think you're playing with house. If they lose tonight, I don't think it's a bad World Cup.
If they get smoked, I would agree with you.
I think we will feel something was left on the table if they lose tonight.
If it's a
USA has correct me if I'm wrong, find me a time we've been favored in a round of 16 game.
Round of 16 game.
We were heavy dogs against Belgium in 2014.
That would even more or less favor into my argument. It's like if you're not, you are favored right now.
You lose as a favorite at home. Yes, with how we've played up to this point, and Belgium has looked lackluster, that would be – I'm not saying it invalidates the whole run, but it would be there'd be a level of disappointment. Like, when we played Belgium in 14, there was not real – like, we got that game to extra time, but there was not like we're going to win this game.
Before this tournament, if you would have told me, hey, the United States wins their group, wins a round of 32 game, and then you have a game against Belgium, in the round of 16, I would be pretty happy regardless of what the result would be.
Yeah, for
before
sure.
going.
I do think watching it plays out changes things, though. For one, Turkey clearly was not as good as we thought.
Right.
You get Bosnia in the round of 32, like, hey, it's no one's fault. We'll take it, but it's not like we drew the Morocco-Netherlands game.
Yeah, you scored a goal when you were down a man, yes.
Yeah, like you've had a favorable draw here, and I would argue this is a favorable draw to get this quality Belgium team in this round. So it's not a just fall on your flat on your face type of thing if they lose tonight, but
if they get smoked, then it's like, all right, yeah, we may need to reassess things.
If they get outplayed by 90 and lose, that's kind of like
if they go to extra time or dare I see even penalties and don't get it done,
sure.
It's like, that's like hey, you came up short.
It's a coin flip game tonight.
Yeah, I think that's what it'll be.
But you're slightly favored and you're at home. We'll see. My point is your best chance to get to a quarterfinal in my lifetime. I guess in 2002, did they make it?
To the round of 16?
Was it around a 16 or quarters? I can't remember, but it's been a long time. So we'll see. I'm hoping a lot of pressure on the guys on the field. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not saying there's not any pressure, but it's just like, to me, like going into the World Cup, if you would have told all of us in the office, it's like, hey, this is what is in front of the United States, at least as of right now, we all would have taken it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think part of the context there is we didn't think their form coming in was very good. And so it's kind of all come together.
That's the thing. The friendlies beforehand, they lost to Belgium.
The last one they play, who did they play? Was it Germany in Chicago? I think they played them pretty well. But yeah. Let's see. They're now playing a quality opponent. We'll see.
They're feeding off of the home crowd, the home atmosphere. I get it, but I just play loose tonight. I think that's like the main thing. Play loose.
I think the thing, too, to Sam's point in the office saying don't give up the first goal, it's like we'll really find out what this team's all about if they have to play from behind in a game of this stakes because they have not had to do that yet. So score first, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
So. All right, mailbag time, hashtag Bears Super Chat. Let's hop into it here right now. Chicago Bears Now is presented by Prize Picks, and it's time for a Bears Now mailbag. My name is Harrison Graham, motivated Dayo believer. I hope you're right. What's the best and worst case for Jahdae Walker this year? Not a lot of talk around Jahdae Walker. We heard a lot about Xavier Thomas during OTAs. Ben Johnson praised Khalif Raymond. I know that Walker was in a lot of those offseason throwing sessions with Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, Luther Burden, Colson Loveland. He was on those trips, so it does seem like they're all getting along well. Obviously, you've got your top two receivers. We'll see how that plays out in terms of who the true number one is between Rome and Luther, but that third job is seemingly up for grabs. I do think Khalif Raymond is the somewhat healthy favorite there. Ben Johnson has spoken about his trust in the veteran there, so I do think he's got the first crack at it. In terms of like what the best case scenario for Walker is, I'd say emerging as the third receiver and being a red zone threat. He's got that size and speed combination, about 6'2", 200 pounds, sub 4.4 guy. We saw him make some big plays down the stretch last season. Obviously, he was a preseason darling a year ago, but now he enters this training camp with, some equity on this team. I think he's on the right side of the roster bubble. I guess worst case scenario, he has a bad camp and could get cut. I'd be surprised by that, though, because who are you keeping? Would you only go 5 receivers and keep Scotty Miller as your 5th guy and don't carry Walker as your 6th? I guess it's possible, but I think he's firmly safe on the team, barring a disaster. The question is how big of a role can he carve out? I think his best role can be wide receiver 3, red zone threat. If Rome Odunze flares up with that foot injury, he's the natural Rome replacement given his style as a receiver with his size and speed. Who will be the wide receiver 3 on this football team? Type KR for Khalif Raymond, JW for Jahdae Walker, and ZT for Xavier Thomas. Let me know. Sounds like Raymond's the favorite, but we'll see. Daryl Walker, appreciate the $2 super chat. Do you think we will average 32 points per game? Probably not 32. I think the Bears were 25 and change last year, something like that. They were 9th or 10th in the NFL in scoring. I think you're probably looking at like 28 to 31 points is like a number you're chasing here. If you could average 28 or more, you're going to win a lot of games. I mean, 25 or more with defenses kind of slowing down offenses the last couple of years with the more kind of safety coverage type of look is still well above average. So if you can add a field goal a game, getting that 28 points per game range, you're going to be top 5 or 6 in scoring. 30 plus, you might lead the league in scoring. So not sure they'll get all the way to 32. That's a whole nother touchdown per game, but don't think it's inconceivable. We got Wasim Khan saying, based on Gordon's injury history, Kyler Gordon, what's the backup plan next year? Well, they signed Cam Lewis, who is kind of a safety nickel hybrid. He was also banged up in OTAs and minicamp. They were giving Malik Muhammad some nickel reps early on in the offseason program, the 4th-round pick out of Texas, but he got banged up by the end of OTAs. You got Josh Blackwell, but I don't think they view him is that viable of an option? Could Elijah Hicks play some nickel? I'm not sure. I don't think you're putting Tyreek Stevenson or Terrell Smith at nickel or Jalen Jones. You go Dylan Thieneman at nickel and play Elijah Hicks at safety. You got some options. Could you add a free agent? That's certainly possible. We've talked about some guys there as well, but we'll see. You hope Kyler's healthy. I think Cam Lewis is next man up, and after that, we'll see if Muhammad or anybody else emerges as a legitimate nickel option. We'll continue with your questions here on Bears Now, but first, got to tell you about our sponsor. That is Prize Picks. The way Prize Picks works is simple. You pick more or less on 2 or more player lineups and their stat projections, and if you hit, you win money. It's absolutely awesome. Prize Picks available in all 50 states in some capacity. Team Picks available in a lot of states as well. If your state is highlighted green, you can make Team Picks, which is picking who's going to win these games, taking more or less on goals scored, first half, second half, all kinds of stuff. World Cup has been fantastic. If you're just a football guy, well, got season-long stat projections available for a lot of players. I've got 4 or 5 season-long football lineups out there. Probably will add some more as well before week 1. 20 to win 115 on this one. Carnell Tate, more than 4.5 receiving touchdowns. Demon play. Love that one. Less than 1.5 starts for Drew Aller. Like that one as well. And then Caleb Williams, more than 3,550.5 passing yards. If he's healthy, he'll zoom past that. 20 to win 115 on that Prize Picks lineup. Sign up, create an account, use code HMA. Once you play your first $5 lineup, you're going to get $50 in lineups instantly when you use code HMA and play your first $5 lineup. Check out Prize Picks today. Link to download the app is in the comments and description. Okay, Jason Morse. I think the X Factor player for this season is Xavion Thomas. I think Ben sees his new Jameson Williams and his skill set. Thoughts? I think he's got a little ways to go to become a true Jameson Williams, like NFL receiver. And what I mean by that is like, speed is there, sure. The ability to create explosives in theory is there. But Jameson Williams, well, I wouldn't call him a complete receiver. Like, he's a starter. He's like the number 2 in Detroit who can run enough of the route tree to take the top off the defense. Maybe a guy like Xavion Thomas gets there. He certainly has the speed J-Mo has, but J-Mo had a more complete skill set entering the NFL as a receiver than Thomas does. Now, reports out of camp, better route runner than people thought. Really good hands, which has impressed me because a lot of these speedsters don't have great hands. So I don't think he's just a gadget guy. I think he can be more over time. Can he ever become like a J-Mo type? We'll see. They took him in the 3rd round, so I don't think they did that just to be a return specialist and gadget guy over time. But I'm not ready to make that leap that he's going to be Jameson Williams, but I do think he has a chance to be a really good player. Okay, DMV Scenes, appreciate the $10 super chat. He says, what separates the success of 2025 from 2018, and how do the Bears ensure 2025 is not a fluke like 2018? Well, I don't think 2018 was a fluke, number one. They had the best defense in the NFL by a pretty healthy margin. When you have the best unit on either side of the ball, that's not a fluke. Like, you're going to have a chance to win a lot of games. So that's number one. I think the biggest difference is Caleb Williams, not Mitch Trubisky. Like, I think that's pretty clear. Caleb has his flaws that he needs to continue to improve on and iron out, but he gives you a chance to go up against any quarterback in the league, outplay him, and beat him. That was not the case with Trubisky. Trubisky in 2018 was a good game manager, given the defense they had. They didn't need him to do too much. Whereas last year, the Bears, outside of creating a lot of takeaways on defense, had a bottom 6-ish defense, and Caleb Williams in the offense was a big reason why they were winning games, especially late in the game. I mean, you think about that like Cincinnati game, for example. That game's wrapped up. The defense collapses, and Caleb and Colson Loveland create magic in the final 45 seconds. So I think Caleb, the offense, and the obvious one, Ben Johnson. I think he's just a much better offensive mind and coach than Matt Nagy was. I think Matt Nagy had his strengths as a head coach, but not as an offensive coordinator, play designer, and just mind overall. So doesn't guarantee anything, but I think you have more certainties that you can point to here, especially on the offensive side of the ball, than you could with the 2018 turning into 2019 season. Okay, subscribe to the channel. We got videos all off season long here on Chicago Bears Now. Do not miss out. We got you covered here on a daily basis. Training camp will be here before you know it. We do these mailbags every Monday and Thursday live on the channel, 4 o'clock Central Time. So lock us in and subscribe. All right, Chris, how devastating is it for the future of the Packers if Micah doesn't come back like his old self? I mean, that would be very devastating. Now, couple things. One, I don't want that to be the case. We don't root for injuries here. Two, ACLs these days are pretty cut and dry. I don't think there was a lot of extra damage in that knee, so I think he'll be fine. Now, he may not be his full self until 2027. That is very possible. You see that a lot with ACLs is where you come back stronger sometimes, but usually it takes a year. So we'll see how he looks when he comes back this year. That's another reason why to not rush him back. You don't want to retweak an injury. But yeah, for whatever reason, not to bring up old scars, if this was like a Derrick Rose situation where he's just never the same, that's catastrophic considering what they traded to get him and how much they've paid him. Don't think that's the case. Not rooting for that to be the case with Micah. One of the best players in the league when healthy, and before this injury hasn't really dealt with many injuries. So I would expect him to be his old self. Maybe that doesn't come till 2027, but remember Aiden Hutchinson had that nasty leg injury, and he was dominant last year. So I would expect Micah, when he's healthy, to be at a high level. Cody, what's going on with Keyshawn Elliott? Not sure. Remember, during OTAs, all that's reported is who's out there and who's not. He missed all of minicamp. How much of the other parts of OTAs, unsure, but they don't have to comment on injuries during the offseason program. And technically in training camp, they don't really either. Now, Ben Johnson's pretty forthcoming. Like, he talked about Kyler's situation. Now, he didn't get into, specifics, but he at least is willing to talk about those things when asked, whereas Matt Eberflus would just be like, oh, team policy, we don't talk about injuries. It's like, all right, Matt, it's fucking June. It's okay if you mention a guy's not available right now. But hopefully he's out there for training camp, because I'd like to see him in the mix, throw the pads on, and see if he can contribute early on. Fill in the blank for us. The Bears will win blank games in 2026. 0-17. It's a 17-game schedule. How many games do you think the Bears win after winning 11? 12, if you count the playoffs last year. All right, Jamal, who would you bet on leading the team in TDs offensively this season? Ooh. Swift had 10 last year, 9 rushing, 1 receiving, so he's actually still a strong bet. Maybe Monangai on the goal line punches a lot in. I'm not counting Caleb. I mean, I'm talking about the quarter. You're always going to pick the quarterback, but skill guy. If you take the running back Swift out of it, just because he's going to get carries and stuff near the end zone a decent amount, you would think. Among the receiving options, I would take Loveland. I think Loveland to hit double digits, I feel pretty decent about. I think he's got a good chance to be a 10-touchdown guy. So I would lean, if I had to pick one guy, it'd be between him and Swift probably for this year. All right, Nate, get the final word here. What would you rank the Bears' skill positions as a group compared to the rest of the league, running backs, tight ends, and receivers? Well, ESPN did this recently. I think they had the Bears 15th. We talked about it on a video. Go check it out. I think it's somewhere between 10 and 13, with the upside to be among the best in the NFL. And the only reason I wouldn't rank them in the top 5 is because Rome's a third-year receiver. Luther's a second-year receiver. Loveland's a second-year tight end. You still have young players that you're projecting a little bit for. So it's hard to just blanket statement they're a top 5 unit, but they have the capability of being that, and it wouldn't shock me if they got there. So I'd have them fringe top 10 or just outside the top 10, but with the upside to be very, very high, potentially top 5. All right, guys, appreciate all the questions. If you have more, you know where to find me on social media at HGramNFL on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/HGramNFL, publishing videos there every single day. DMs are open as well. Got to catch up on those. I'll try to do that before training camp starts. So give us a follow and bear down. All righty. Let's see if we have any pregame yet.
Also, with this next segment,
Did I ever play RuneScape? Not really. A couple of my buddies did. I never really did. Was that up your alley?
No.
I gave it a shot at one point because all my buddies were playing, and I played for like a week or two, and I was like, this is just not my speed. This is not. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I was really just a sports game, and then some shooters like Call of Duty. Played a lot of Fortnite.
Yep.
So, yeah. I will say I've been getting the FIFA itch a little bit.
I got FIFA recently.
You did get it?
EAFC 26, actually.
Whatever.
Sorry. Yeah.
Whatever.
I've been playing it. I've been
Are the buttons the same from
Yeah.
Okay. A's pass, Y's through ball. Talking Xbox.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although
I have PS5 now.
I'm so old school with FIFA, I shoot the alternative way. I shoot with X and I cross with B.
Oh, you recheck
Yeah.
the okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Trying to they don't have this in the game, but in my mind, take the United States to the promised land and have them beat everybody else. So
Okay.
That's what.
So you've been playing you've been doing international
I did
games?
I did a player career thing, and we're giving them a little boost. Give them a little boost.
Look at that. Look at the scenes.
Seattle, I will say, and this is just unbiased, I think they're one of the better soccer cities that America has.
Well, the Sounders
They've
are
been
one
awesome,
of the
yeah.
strongest, probably the strongest fan base, pound for pound. At least
up there.
since they've been in the league. I don't know if that's been the case the last couple of years, but they're pretty loyal to the Sounders. Austin FC is one of the better ones. I do think Chicago's going to have some juice. They just signed Lewandowski.
Yes, they did.
So that's going to be cool.
One of the best strikers of his era.
Yeah, Poland not in the World Cup. So
no, he's kind of on his last leg, and to be honest, he was
classic star signing with the MLS at the end, get some bread.
He was essentially in his heyday, similar to what Holland is for Norway, just
a true striker.
Yeah, he there was a game that Lewandowski had where he subbed on, and he scored 5 goals within the span of however many minutes. As a sub, 5 goals. It was one of the more incredible feats in all of soccer. And
Lewandowski did that?
Yeah. I think it was 5 goals. Let me look this up before I misinform here. He was one of the best in.
So the U.S. is in Seattle tonight. If they win, they're in Los Angeles on Friday. They'd be here.
5 goals in 9 minutes.
They'd be in Dallas for the semis.
Yep.
If they made it there, would you consider going?
I consider it, but then I'd probably look at the prices and be like, we'll see.
What's the cheapest or what's the most you'd pay? I think for semis, I'm not joking. I think it would be 5 racks to get in. I mean, today, Spain, Portugal on a Monday afternoon. I get it. 2 of the face countries. Cheapest, I guess, right before kickoff, it got under $2,000, but they were sitting at $2,500. I think you'd be looking at 5 racks.
Yeah, I wouldn't go for that.
No. Would you go for 2? Think about it.
I think. That being said, I don't think it would be $2,000 to get in.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe. In this upcoming segment, which I'll be a part of. Where do you want me to come in, by the way? Do you want me just on that first or the second graphic, I should say?
Once we get to the once we just get to the first.
The names.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. All right, let's get into it because this will be a little longer. We'll try to go quicker on some of the obvious ones, but Caleb Williams verse. We did this last year. We're running it back. Cullen is going to bring up every other team's projected starting quarterback, and I'm going to tell you if I would take Caleb Williams or that quarterback. That's coming up next here on Chicago Bears Now. Let's play play a little game of Caleb Williams verse. My name is Harrison Graham, and this is Chicago Bears Now. We are presented by Prize Picks, and for a second straight year, producer Cullen will go through every other team's projected starter, and I will tell you if I would rather have Caleb Williams or that starter moving forward as my team's quarterback. Now, this is the criteria. It's not just 2026 in mind. It's not just short term. For example, on 4Verts, I did a 2026 quarterback rankings video. I had Caleb Williams ranked 10th, but that was just for 2026. I'm talking short term, long term, current age matters, contract, potential projected contract. All these things factor in when I am making these decisions on this video. Now, I did this last year, and I had Caleb Williams 10th coming off kind of a wonky rookie season. I think I got some sideways looks, and I feel pretty good about that coming off last year. In fact, based on my own rankings for 2026, I ranked Caleb exactly 10th for the upcoming season. Now, it's funny to look back at some of these. I fell for the Jalen Hurts trap, the Super Bowl thing. I also fell into the I kind of did the overreact to awesome rookie year thing with Jaden Daniels. I think now moving forward, it's like, okay, let's let these guys play for a couple years before ranking guys too high. But now we enter year 3 of Caleb Williams, Cullen Brown, as I bring you into the show, and we'll go division by division, and I will determine if I would rather take Caleb Williams or, in this case, Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills quarterback.
Yeah. Getting into it here, we'll start off. We'll kind of go division by division. Feel like that's the most fair way in trying to do this. So we'll start off with the AFC East. And as you mentioned, Harry, who would you rather take, Caleb Williams or Josh Allen?
The answer is Josh Allen. Josh is obviously older. He's already been paid as well. He also could have earned more on his latest extension. Just took $55 a year, so he took a little bit of a discount for the Bills. He's probably been the best quarterback in the league if you add up the last 2 years. Mahomes has slipped just a bit in his play, which is why I think they're changing things up offensively a little bit. He obviously got hurt at the end of last year too. Stafford, you could argue last year was the best in the league, but I think Josh, pound for pound, the last 2 seasons has been the best quarterback in the NFL. He's still only 30 years old. With his size and stature and ability, I think he can give you 5 to 7 elite years and probably 3 to 5 more good years. So you're talking about probably a decade of really good play still. I'm not going to take Caleb Williams over Josh Allen at this point in time. So the number of quarterbacks I would take over Caleb, factoring in everything, one quarterback in, is 1. I would take Josh Allen over Caleb Williams.
Yep, not too much to add there. Josh Allen, one of the best this game has ever seen. I think you nailed the nail on the head on that one. Moving on to the Miami Dolphins, where new incumbent starter Malik Willis is taking over for the Dolphins. Harry, would you rather take Malik Willis or Caleb Williams?
Yeah, not much analysis needed here. I'm intrigued by Malik Willis. As Bears fans, we've seen him play well against Chicago when he's played for Green Bay in a couple big matchups the last couple of years, but small sample size, not nearly as gifted as Caleb. Clearly, I'm going to take Caleb Williams here, but I am intrigued to see how his second go-around as a full-time starter goes after it did not go well in Tennessee. Thought he did develop nicely as Green Bay's backup the past couple of years.
Yeah, he finally gets his shot, but there's a lot more football that needs to be played if, Malik Willis is ever taken ahead of Caleb Williams. Now for one of the bigger debates I think that people might have in terms of Caleb Williams. It's none other than his draft classmate, Drake May, who plays obviously for the New England Patriots. Harry, would you rather take Caleb Williams or Drake May?
Yeah, I think Drake May and Caleb fall into a similar bucket of sure, through 2 years, Drake's probably played a little bit better. Certainly last season in the regular season was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I'm still going to take Caleb, though. I haven't seen Drake in high leverage spots elevate consistently. I did not think he played well in the playoffs. Now, look, young quarterback playoffs, surrounding cast not great. I'm not acting like he can't be a clutch player or anything, but even though he made the Super Bowl, he was not really the reason why for any metric whatsoever. Obviously, you gave him credit for winning games, but there were a lot of very varying circumstances there. I still think Caleb's ceiling is higher than Drake's. I just think he gives you just more horsepower, explosive nature to his game overall. Drake's awesome. If people in the comments or Patriots fan hops in here and say you're crazy, it's Drake. I'm not going to argue crazy against you. I would just say Caleb because I still think there's more room to grow for Caleb, and I don't think the gap is that massive right now as it is between these two players. So Drake's terrific. This is a tough one. I think you could go either way here. Things that probably factor in too is like, what's the surrounding cast? What type of offense? Those all factor in. I would lean Caleb, but if you want to go the other way, I wouldn't have a strong argument against you.
Yeah, I'll just make a quick point here. This is one of those few ones where, at the moment, I slightly disagree. I would lean Drake May.
Totally fair.
And you nailed a lot of really good points to Caleb Williams. I think the ceiling aspect of this, Caleb clearly has a higher ceiling than Drake May, just given his athletic ability and his ability to make plays outside the pocket. Couple things that I just would favor in Drake May's case. One, I think that over the course of the season, yes, he played, I think, the best out of any Caleb year and his year combined.
For sure.
Postseason wasn't great. He did downfall in that. I think that he still wins from the pocket just a little bit better than Caleb Williams at this stage. Not to say that Caleb Williams can't get better at that.
Agreed.
But I'll still take that. That and also, and again, Caleb Williams throughout his time in the NFL, he's had better weapons than Drake May.
Yeah, yes.
So that's one thing that, now you're getting A.J. Brown. We'll see how that kind of situation unfolds in New England. You obviously had Romeo Doubs, who I think at best will be, a solid number 2 for them. I think that this will be a debate where you could maybe every other season maybe change your answer of who you'd rather have, Caleb Williams or Drake May. To me, they're in the same tier. I'll slightly lean Drake May for now, but it is a really good debate.
Yeah, I'm projecting here a little bit, which again is short versus long. If it's just for this season, I had Drake a couple slots higher, I think, on my 4 verts rankings. I think he's further along. I think Caleb has a lot more to grow with already having a pretty high floor, which is why I leaned Caleb Williams here. Okay, shout out to Prize Picks. Appreciate them for sponsoring today's show. You pick more or less on player stat projections, 2 or more players to qualify for a lineup, and if you hit, you win money. World Cup, baseball, football will be back soon. You can cross over players in your lineups. You got the W going on. Plenty at your disposal. Team picks are available. You can pick who's going to win or lose these games as well, more or less on total goals. It's awesome. Go check it out. Season-long football lineup here, 20 to win 115. Took more than 4.5 receiving touchdowns for Carnell Tate, less than 1.5 starts for Drew Aller, and then more than 3,550.5 passing yards for Caleb Williams. Use code HMA to get $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5 lineup. That's code HMA. $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5 lineup. Go check out Prize Picks. Plenty to get involved in over there. Okay, we'll wrap up the AFC East with Geno Smith. I think Geno can bounce back this year and play better than he did last year. It did not work out in Vegas, but we're not taking Geno Smith over Caleb Williams at this point in time or ever moving forward. So we'll see how it goes with the Jets. I think the bigger question is what does his playing future look like beyond 2026?
Yeah, hopefully Geno Smith's been working on his penmanship because he needs to start writing back here soon. I'm not sure how much of his playing career he's got left in the NFL. That being said, he's had some solid years. In no circumstances would you take Geno Smith over Caleb Williams, especially at this stage. All right, moving into one of the NFL's elite in terms of now moving to the AFC North, but also at quarterback, Lamar Jackson. Who would you rather have, Caleb, or Lamar?
This is when it gets fun. There's 2 quarterbacks in the AFC North that I heavily debated. You would take both these guys, including Lamar, right now, and for this season only for sure, and maybe even the next 2 or 3 years over Caleb Williams. But I'm going to bet over the next decade plus that Caleb gives you more cracks at winning at a high level than Lamar Jackson does. Are there cracks in the foundation with Lamar? Last year, dealt with some injuries. The way he plays, he will be susceptible to injuries moving forward. Now, for the most part in his career, he's taken care of himself. He's actually stayed more healthy than the next guy we're going to talk about. I'm going to take Caleb, though. I think Lamar is a much better pocket passer than he gets credit for. I don't think he'll plummet like Russell Wilson when the athleticism starts to wane. He's also taller than a guy like Russ, which gives him a better chance to survive in the pocket. But I don't think he's an elite pocket passer. So when he no longer has that dual threat aspect, I think he'll still be good. I don't think he'll be great. Whereas Caleb, his athleticism is going to be there at least for another 8 or so seasons, whereas with Lamar, maybe you get 3 or 4 high-end athletic years. What does it look like after that? I'll take Caleb. Think you get more throws at the dartboard. And Lamar's play has not elevated in the postseason and in big spots. I think Caleb early on is showing he can elevate in big moments. So it was a tough one. It's close. Clearly, for the next couple of years, you'd lean Lamar here, but I took Caleb in this spot.
What will really, in my opinion, make this debate more of a debate is seeing how Declan Doyle potentially uses Lamar Jackson. And
yeah, it's going to be fun to watch.
Maybe it's going to be a different kind of side of Lamar Jackson that we have not yet seen that maybe extends his career in terms of the level that he can play at in terms of winning from the pocket and executing at a high-level offense. I do agree right now, though, that I would probably lean this way. And that's not to say Lamar Jackson's not a great player. He's obviously a multi-time MVP. He's
future Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he's one of the best quarterbacks that we have in this game right now. But if you're talking about how I think he's going to progress, I think you really sold it there, Harry, that with his, injury history and the fact that he gets sick more than every other quarterback in the NFL combined, I do kind of sit there and worry about his availability and just what Lamar Jackson you're going to get for 5 years down the line.
One more angle, too. He's in line for a new deal. And that could approach $70 million if he has a good year this year. If he is an MVP caliber player this year, you're happy to give him that. There's no question. But, what does a 5-year, $350 million contract look like when he's 33, 34? I think these are questions to ask. So it's close. If it was for the next 3 years, I would still lean Lamar. But if you're just factoring in everything, contract, age, short-term versus long-term, I'm leaning Caleb Williams in this spot, although it is a discussion. Before we get to Joe Burrow, Cullen, that's going to be the next one here. That was another highly debated one, just internally for myself. Do want to shout out our other sponsor on today's show as well. That is SeatGeek. Get 10% off your next set of tickets with the fine folks over at SeatGeek with code CHAT10. Listen, the World Cup's been awesome. If you have a chance to somehow go to a game, you're going to get the best deal possible with SeatGeek. I can promise you that. Look for those green dots. Those are the best deals available. Red dots are a bad deal, so stay away from those. Also, they are the official ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball, which is awesome as well. Cubs, White Sox, get your tickets there. Then Bears. Bears tickets are available for every single game, including the preseason. You can get into the preseason opener right now for less than $80 in most cases, especially if you buy in sets of 2 or more. Get started today. You're going to see vantage points from the stadium. You can kind of look at that overhead view and kind of see what the best options are in terms of determining what quality of seat you want, upper bowl, lower bowl, etc. It's all available with SeatGeek. So use code CHAT10, 10% off your next set of tickets with SeatGeek code CHAT10. Again, that's new or existing customers. It's your next set of tickets. You get 10% off. Check it out today. Link is in the comments and description, and you'll be ready to go once you download the SeatGeek app.
All right, sticking in the AFC North and a matchup between two quarterbacks that are both very talented, Caleb Williams or Joe Burrow, Mr. Graham.
I don't want to say I feel like a hypocrite because Burrow has actually been a little more injury prone than Lamar Jackson, despite Lamar's game, you would think, leading to more injuries. I just think Burrow is so elite in the pocket, and I still think that's the most important trait long-term in the NFL. I'm going to lean Burrow here. And part of this, Cullen, for me, is organizational stability. If Burrow had been in Baltimore all these years with Lamar in Cincinnati, I think both are still stars, but, you do wonder, does Burrow with Baltimore's infrastructure over the years, does he have a title by now? Or has he at least been to a Super Bowl? Not saying he hasn't had good things around him. He's had Jamar Chase. He's had T. Higgins. They've had some talent, but cheap ownership. How good is Zach Taylor? They have not spent on defense, ironically, until this year. They've started to spend again, so maybe that benefits. He made the comments, this is the most excited he's been about a team since 2019 LSU. I just think if Burrow stays healthy long-term, he's always going to be good in the pocket. Until he retires, he will be able to win from the pocket. So I took Joe Burrow reluctantly. I also felt like it would be a little too biased to take Caleb over Lamar and Burrow. I think that'd be a little bit of a stretch. And so I gave Burrow the edge because I think his game should age better just with his play style than Lamar. So it was close, but I did take Burrow.
Yeah, I think that I would agree with this sentiment as well. To me, Burrow while, yes, he's been injured throughout his career, he's also proven that he can carry a team with little to no defensive help. I mean, he did take the Bengals to that Super Bowl in which they lost the Rams, in which, one or two plays go the Cincinnati Bengals' way. Maybe he has a Super Bowl championship at this point. And I think what you really said that there's the major difference between Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow is a big reason why I took Burrow over Lamar in a 4 verts mock that we did. I think that Burrow's injuries, to me, he's able to battle those with his abilities in the pocket and being able to win, throwing behind his offensive line. And it's going to translate better as his career progresses. Now, he obviously still has to stay healthy and he still has to perform at that high of a level. But if you're Caleb Williams, yes, you want to improve and you want to become, a low 60s, maybe mid 60s completion percentage guy eventually, and then maybe you progress to where you're close to 70%. To me, Burrow, when he's on his A day, he throws and could be the best quarterback in the NFL at any given Sunday, and more often than not, he is one of those guys. I think Caleb's still tracking towards that way. So right now, knowing that Burrow has gotten and can stay at that ability, I would take Joe Burrow at this current moment as well.
Yeah, I think it's there's different angles you can look at it, but
Sure.
I think you give Burrow the nod here. Okay, Deshaun Watson, not going to spend much time here, whether it's him, Shedeur Sanders, we're projecting Watson to start. Obviously, you're not taking Deshaun Watson over Caleb Williams. Am intrigued to see how that all looks this year in Cleveland, but I don't think there's any scenario that arises where you would feel differently about this a year from now.
When you have, what's the old saying? When you have 3 quarterbacks, you have none. If you still want to count Dylan Gabriel, I mean, it's not great in Cleveland right now. And Deshaun Watson, I guess apparently the swing and a miss is now turned into their starter at Cleveland. We'll see how that turns out, how long he lasts. There's no discussion here.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers, Hall of Fame career, we know that, but he's severely fallen off. Still a serviceable starter, but you're not taking him over Caleb for 2026 only, and you're certainly not taking him moving forward. This is almost certainly his last season, so no discussion here either.
None at all. All right, moving over to the AFC South now, where we have C.J. Stroud, who, after his rookie year, looked like he could have been trending towards one of the better quarterbacks in football, has not been at that level the last couple of years. Harry, would you take Stroud or Caleb?
I still think there's a world where C.J. Stroud takes another step, becomes a top 12-ish, maybe even a top 10 franchise quarterback. But, I don't think he's a super high ceiling quarterback. For being a decent athlete, he doesn't really use that to his advantage. He doesn't have a rocket of an arm. His absolute ceiling, and we saw some of this to his game his rookie year, is a Joe Burrow type where he just dominates from the pocket. Good pocket movement, delivers a nice ball. But his accuracy has waned since then, which if you don't have a strong arm and you don't use your athleticism to your advantage, you have to be supremely accurate and make good decisions, which Burrow does. CJ hasn't done that consistently the last couple of years, so the answer is Caleb here. Obviously, the infamous meme when CJ tried to pep talk him, dad him, son him, whatever you want to call that. We've all seen those side-by-side graphics since then. Caleb's been the much better player since then. Not only would I take him this year over CJ, I would take him long-term as well. Much more higher ceiling and explosive nature to his game.
Much higher ceiling, and yeah, I mean, he's, I think, a notable tier right now.
Yeah, I think the floor's higher, too, to be honest.
It's not really a debate. Houston, still C.J. Stroud, improved offensive line in Houston. Maybe he could improve his play. We'll wait and see how it turns out.
There's a reason they haven't sprinted to pay him yet, even though he's extension eligible.
No doubt. All right, now moving to Indianapolis, where Danny Dimes, who had some moments of success last year, I think he kind of trailed off as the Colts got later into the year. Then he obviously gets hurt. Who would you take, Caleb Williams or Daniel Jones?
Yeah, not much of a discussion. It's Caleb. Also, Daniel Jones is now making almost $50 million per year. If he was giving you what he gave you last year at his price tag last year, I still wouldn't take him over Caleb. It's like, hey, you're getting good QB play for cheap. Cool. Mm-hmm. Now he's making $50 million again, so he needs to play consistently like a top half of the league starter, if not fringe top 10. I've never thought he was that, even when he's playing well. I have major questions with him coming off this Achilles, so not only am I not taking him over Caleb, I could see this going south in Indy this year. So, clearly going to take Caleb over Danny Dimes.
Yeah, this could be the final straw in the Ballard-Steichen era, and
yep.
to me, like Daniel Jones is more or less fighting to maintain his level of starting NFL quarterback, much less competing with a guy like Caleb Williams. So,
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence, former number 1 overall pick, just like Caleb Williams, had a really good year last year for Liam Cohen in Jacksonville. Harry, who are you taking between T-Law and Mr. Caleb?
Yeah, I'm taking Caleb. I think Jags fans certainly were and should be pleased with the bounce back from Trevor Lawrence last year, but he's making top 5, 6 QB money. Through 6 NFL seasons, I believe it is, he's had 2 good seasons, so it's been very rocky. Does feel like he has stability at coach finally in Liam Cohen, but I think Caleb's ceiling is still higher. I think the gap. I think last year they had relatively similar years. I'd probably maybe give T-Law the slight edge of how he played last year. Certainly down the stretch he played great. But yeah, I just think given the contract, a little bit older, don't think his ceiling's quite as high. I also think his floor is lower. I think we've seen that. We'll see. If T-Law has a big year this year, he could certainly move back up a tier. Maybe this is Sam Darnold-ish, where like in a year or two, it's like, oh, he's like one of the 8 best quarterbacks in the league again after kind of teetering off. So not ready to go there yet with T-Law. I would take Caleb moving forward.
Yeah, it feels like if he puts together a similar season that he had last year, and let's say Caleb, for whatever reason, kind of flatlines or whatever, then it becomes more of a discussion.
Yeah, I think it's a different conversation next year if that happens.
But as we currently stand here right now, although you could argue T-Law had the better, statistical year or whatever the case may be, I think you would still take Caleb and his upside. And you mentioned it, Trevor's already got a big contract that's attached.
He's only 26. I mean, that's the thing. Like, there's still a world where this works out very well for Jacksonville. So we'll see if that upward trajectory continues to round into form. All right, let's wrap up the AFC South, Colin.
Yep, another number 1 overall pick. This time it is Cam Ward of the Tennessee Titans. Cam Ward or Caleb Williams?
I'm still in the Cam Ward believer bucket, despite a chaotic rookie season. Kind of, I would say, a worse version of Caleb Williams' rookie season, where like you saw the upside flashes, but like the coaching was a mess. Another big difference, though, is at least Caleb had weapons as a rookie. He didn't have the coaching or the O-line, but he did have good receiving weapons. Cam Ward had none of it. He had no coaching. He had no offensive line. He had no weapons. Thought he finished relatively strong. I don't love how they approached this offseason with not really doing anything to the offensive line. They did add Cardinal Tate, which should help. I'm still a believer, which I feel like people have already punted on Cam Ward, but I think his best case scenario, Colin, is kind of just a poor man's Caleb Williams, where he's like this explosive playmaker, but not as athletic, not as good of an arm. So I still think he'll be good, but I don't think his floor or his ceiling is higher than Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I think athletically, Cam Ward as a prospect rivals Caleb. And I think what really is going to separate their careers potentially is Caleb Williams' situation is better than Cam Ward's at this current moment. Where, yes, with the Bears, when Caleb Williams was drafted, yes, you had a lame duck head coach and Matt Eberflus. You had the expert brilliance of Shane Waldron calling plays for majority of that
that's
season.
Jack's assistant head coach, baby.
Yeah, exactly. He, to me, when Caleb got into year 2, it was a complete overhaul, not only just in coaching, but also from a roster construction standpoint. They brought in the offensive linemen that they brought in. They brought in the coaching, like everything that you need to kind of build a quarterback up in terms of, fine-tuning the little things where, again, you could make the argument Caleb was higher coming out than Cam Ward was. But
I don't think there's a question about that, to be clear.
And in Cam Ward, to me, like, there's just no coaching that I feel truly like. I like Brian Daboll as a schematic play caller, but Cardinal Tate is your best weapon when Caleb Williams, throughout his career has had guys like DJ Moore. He had Keenan Allen his rookie year. Obviously, he had Roma Dunze the same year he came out. Now he's got Luther Burden. He has Colston Loveland.
2 good tight ends, yeah.
Yeah, like he's had some Cole Kmet, and I don't think Cam Ward nearly has that level of talent surrounding him, much less the offensive line in Tennessee is god-awful. So,
and like Caleb Williams, Cam Ward, where he's really going to have to improve is he just took a lot of bad sacks as a rookie. Like, even with bad O-line play, took bad sacks like Caleb did.
Yep.
Caleb improved in that area. Certainly investing in the O-line helped. Tennessee didn't do that, but he still needs to improve in that area. So we'll see if he can do that this year. All right, let's get through the AFC West. Bo Nix. I like Bo Nix. Good player. I think his floor is relatively high. I think his ceiling is above average. I think at his best, he can be a top 10 quarterback. I don't think he can be a top 5 quarterback. But I think a solid version of Bo Nix, he'll stick around the NFL for a while as a top 15 guy. So, I'm not taking him over Caleb Williams, but I do think he's I would probably take him over CJ Stroud, for example, at this point. So, I don't think he is who he is, but I don't know how much further he can go, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think with Bo Nix, there was a bit of a pendulum effect where coming out, I didn't have him rated that highly coming out of Oregon.
Same.
And
he's already surpassed what I thought he could be in the NFL.
Exactly. And part of was the offense they ran at Oregon. They didn't really, I feel like, allow him to showcase his true talents and everything, both as a rusher and as a thrower. And while he has surpassed that, I think the pendulum kind of swung to the fact that, Bo Nix is this level quarterback. It's actually, to your point, I think he's closer to average. I think I ranked him 17th best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
I think that's what he's around, and I don't know if he has the upside to quite challenge for a top 5, even top 10. I kind of wonder, will he ever get there one day? But that being said, he did have some success. He's obviously was a big part in Denver making the AFC Championship game last year. We ultimately did not get to see how he performed. How does he progress with this ankle injury that he's had, or ankle injuries that he's had since college? That's another thing you have to worry about. So
one thing I will say with Bo, even though he's just not, he doesn't have elite traits, he does have a bit better arm than I thought. He is a pretty decent athlete. He also, like Caleb Williams, at least last year, was pretty clutch. I mean, and
a lot of big fourth quarter plays.
Some big fourth quarters. So, I do think there's a world where he's a top 10-ish, 12 guy. I don't think he's ever top 5, though. I just don't think he's got enough skill to get to the top 5. But if you're a top 12 quarterback and consistently have a good team around him, Denver's going to be competitive. So
they probably will be next year, coming off 14-win season. So
yeah, not taking him over Caleb, though.
Neither would I. Now moving into a multi-time MVP, multi-time Super Bowl champion, multi-time Super Bowl MVP. It is none other than Patrick Mahomes. And Harry, I'll ask you the question: who would you rather have in Patrick Mahomes or Caleb Williams?
Yeah, I love Caleb Williams, but this turns to 3 now quarterbacks I would take over Caleb. It's Mahomes. I know he's had down years the last couple of seasons, but he's the ultimate winner. He's the ultimate gamer. He's clutch. He still has extreme physical talent. Maybe that's waned just slightly the last couple of years, but I think you're going to see the Chiefs get back to more of an explosive offense this year. I think they spent a lot on defense after they traded Tyreek Hill. They kind of leaned into bolstering that side of the ball, and so their offense kind of became more of just hey, just be steady, and Mahomes, put your cape on late in these games and go grind these games out. I think now you're going to see, I think the Kenneth Walker addition kind of signals that, hey, they want to run the football, be more explosive there, and that should set up their passing game, getting back to what it was. I'm expecting Mahomes next couple of years to get back into those MVP talks, so yeah, it would be silly to take him over Caleb. He's still only 30, 31. I mean, he can play for another 10 years.
Yeah, still a lot of runway ahead of him. I think one thing for Kansas City, as Kelsey, continues to age and, we'll see kind of how much longer his NFL career has. I'm not expecting it to be that much longer if, past the season. But Tyreek Hill, they obviously moved on from. They've got the whole Rashee Rice situation, which that seems like every other
feels like this probably is last year.
Yeah,
in Kansas City.
Kansas City's going to need to find Mahomes' next top target for the back half of his career, and we'll see how that kind of turns out in terms of his success. That being said, I think if you're Caleb Williams, a lot of comparisons were made to Patrick Mahomes when he was coming out of USC, just given they're kind of similar. Hey, you could throw the football at different arm angles. Obviously the big plays, the ability to make plays out of the pocket as well as inside of the pocket. You have that in Patrick Mahomes, so you can't obviously take Caleb Williams at this point. Now, if Mahomes, knock on wood, he maybe suffers another injury or something else happens, could this maybe? I don't know. I wouldn't go that far yet, but to me right now, Patrick Mahomes is one of those guys you for sure take above Caleb.
Yeah, where Mahomes really has gotten better throughout the last few years is he kind of had to learn to be a pocket guy.
Mhm.
You know, early on he was so dynamic he didn't even have to.
Right.
The advantage Caleb does have is I think Ben has kind of forced that into him early on. But Mahomes, I mean, it's just, I mean, the accolades, the winning, like it's just a different level. So long way to make that a conversation. Kirk Cousins, Mendoza, you know, Mendoza's interesting. I'm intrigued by him. Wouldn't take him over Mendoza. Certainly not taking him over Cousins. You know, I think the only question here is how quickly does Mendoza get on the field for Las Vegas?
Yep. Kirko Chains, we appreciate your time. That's still in the NFL. Not really a discussion.
Yeah.
Not really a discussion.
Here's an interesting one, though.
Yes. Justin Herbert of the Los Angeles Chargers came in, had one of the more impressive rookie campaigns that the quarterbacks had, and then has kind of stayed at that level, which, don't get me wrong, it's a very good level. Now he enters a year with a lot of expectations for the Los Angeles Chargers. Harry, Caleb Williams, or Justin Herbert?
I took Caleb. I thought about taking Herbert because I'm still on the Herbert train, at least for one more year. I think part of him flatlining, if you will, the last couple of years is the Jim Harbaugh nature. Jim Harbaugh likes to run the football. He likes to grind teams out. He likes to be a defensive-led team. I think that neutered kind of the explosiveness of Justin Herbert in this offense a little bit. And obviously last year's just the O-line play after the injuries is just atrocious. Now, Herbert has also fallen flat on his face in big spots, which is why a big reason why I gave Caleb the edge. Like, we've seen him elevate early in his career. And I said this about Caleb as a rookie. I was like, guys, like, he elevates in the big moments, even with this chaos around him. It was things around him that let him down, and some of those late game comebacks as a rookie last year, those started to come together with just competency around him. I'm giving this one more year with Herbert. I'm still picking Caleb, but there's a world a year from now I would change my mind. Like, Mike McDaniel, that's a real fucking offensive coordinator. Like, for Justin Herbert. Like, no offense to the Ravens guy forever. I can't think of his freaking name. I'm looking
Greg Roman.
Greg Roman. But, like, that's not a Justin Herbert fit.
Yep.
I think Mike McDaniel has a chance to really unleash Herbert. So, taking Caleb, but there's a world this flips because Herbert's still like 27, 28. Like, he could have a monster year. So, take Caleb. He's younger. Both have huge upsides. Herbert's obviously had a good career up to this point, but he's failed in big spots and has not won a playoff game. That's something Caleb's already done. So,
about like this close. Like this, I'm hanging on to Herbert by that much. And I respect what Caleb's done so far in his NFL career. I just want to see like just that next, even like half step for me to like fully lock this in over Herbert. To me, like Herbert, when he entered the league, and again, like I'm not going to hold Caleb Williams' rookie year against him, but I still think like Herbert as a quarterback, if you told me like, hey, this is the level that he's at for, you know, the next 10 years or whatever the case may be, that's still a really damn good NFL QB.
Oh, for sure.
And while his postseason shortcomings are not anything to excuse or anything, and don't be wrong, you still kind of are wanting more. I think the fact that Justin Herbert, for the level that he's played at, and the fact that most, I think, around the league consider him a borderline top 5 quarterback, and the fact that he's still, you know, in his 20s, like, I still will lean on Herbert. But that being said, like, the stars are really aligning for him this year.
This is a critical year.
So I'll still slightly lean Herbert this much over Caleb, but that could very well change. If Herbert gets off to even a slow start this year, I might be changing that.
It was neck and neck. I could see the pendulum swinging either way this year, where if Herbert finally breaks through, like, it's okay, maybe he's like the face of the league moving forward. Like, that's still on the table for him.
Yes.
But if he falls flat in a playoff game and they're healthy again, it's like, well, then at that point, it's like, you got to prove it to me. It's like, we've seen this story time and time again. Okay, NFC. We'll try to pick up the pace a little bit. Dak Prescott. I like Dak a lot. I think he's been a top 10 starter for most of his career. Certain years, he's been a top 5 guy. But he's got some injuries. He's 32 now. His ceiling is lower than Caleb's. Floor is higher, no question, but he's second highest paid QB behind Mahomes now. Mahomes just got a pay raise, $60 million a year. Good player. At times has been a great player, but not consistently. I'm not taking him over Caleb Williams.
Not nearly as mobile as he once was. I think really after that ankle injury, he hasn't been quite the same.
Really just a pocket guy now.
Yeah, and he's still really productive, and he's still a guy that you obviously feel very comfortable with being your franchise quarterback. That being said, age, contract, everything. If you're
Injury
looking forward,
history.
injury history as well, you take Caleb Williams here, but you give Dak Prescott his respect. Moving on to the Giants now, where Jackson Dart. Who do you have, Caleb versus Mr. Dart?
Look, Dart, I would say, kind of like Bo Nix, I didn't really know what he'd be in the NFL. I wasn't super high on it. That Lane Kiffin RPO-heavy offense, I didn't think his physical traits were great. I thought he had an average to above average arm. Decent athlete. I thought he showed me a lot in a not great situation last year. Now, he's reckless, both as a runner and as a decision maker at times passing the football, but he generates a lot of big plays. Not an elite arm, but a better arm than I thought. I'm intrigued how this goes this year, though. Matt Nagy is the play caller. What's going on with Malik Neighbors. I'm clearly taking Caleb Williams. I think higher floor, higher ceiling, but I think Jackson Dart, his range of what he is in the NFL, I think is pretty wide-ranging. Like, there's a world he's a top 10 quarterback for a while. There's a world where, like, in 2 years, it's like, do they need to find someone else? Like, I think that's all still on the table here.
Yeah, I think a lot of variants could be made of the career of Jackson Dart and where he ultimately ends up. To me, like, maturity is a big thing. Like, being the leader of a franchise and being the quarterback, it's not just executing the offense when you're playing 17 plus games a year. It's also like how you carry yourself, how you lead in the locker room. And I think Dart has that ability. There's just been a couple of moments where it's just like, hey, you got to reel this in, or maybe there's a better way to handle this. It's also learning how to protect yourself and not necessarily lowering your shoulder when a linebacker's trying to meet you at the sideline.
Well, and I also don't love, like, he's defended himself multiple times when asked that. It's like, dude, there's no way Brian Daboll was telling you to lower your shoulder on a linebacker. It's like
that goes back to the maturity thing. Like,
yeah, exactly. So, there's time and place. Critical third down in the fourth quarter, I get it, but, like, you don't need to lower your shoulder on a 2nd and 4 in the second quarter. So I like Dart. I'm curious to see where it goes. I'm clearly not taking him over Caleb, but, wide variance here, I would say.
To be honest, just needs another year of, like, hey, show me something else, show me an improvement, and then maybe it's a discussion. Maybe.
A player he got comped to coming out a lot, and a player he's even said he molded his game after a lot, was Jalen Hurts, who is kind of entering a crossroads, Colin.
That he is, and new offensive coordinator this year. A lot of expectations, still a very talented roster. No longer A.J. Brown is in that Philly locker room. Caleb Williams versus Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, Caleb Williams. I think Jalen Hurts' floor is pretty decent. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot, throws a good deep ball. Can manage a game well. I think he's got to get back to running more. To me, he's not a good enough pocket quarterback to not scramble, and last year he didn't run much. I'll be curious to see how much QB run design is built into this offense from Sean Mannion, but they're challenging him this year. They're getting his butt under center, going to do that under center play action stuff. Mannion comes from the Matt LaFleur tree, so interesting year for Jalen Hurts. I think he's been in very good situations with a very good franchise and good roster. And we know Philadelphia is not afraid to pivot, so we'll see what happens long term. Caleb, I think in a lot of ways, is already better than Jalen Hurts. And I definitely think, like, moving forward, you would take him over Jalen Hurts, who makes a lot of money to be a very polarizing up and down quarterback. So
we've talked a lot about ceilings and floors with these quarterbacks. To me, Hurts is one of those classic guys where, like, he's damn near, if not already, at his ceiling. Like, I think he has maxed out what he could potentially be as an NFL quarterback, which, hey, Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl champion, he's had some success. That being said, how much further can he go along? He's also signed to already a contract extension. I think there's just multiple reasons you would choose Caleb Williams over Mr.
If he
Hurts.
can't prove to throw the ball consistently over the middle of the field this year, I don't know what he is moving forward. I think he's like this niche QB that you have to, like, have college concepts built into for him to be effective. So we'll see. They're challenging him this year to be more of a pro-style guy, which is what Washington's doing with Jaden Daniels as well, bringing in David Blau. They're going to get him under center more. Now, I think Jaden Daniels is a better natural passer than Jalen Hurts. He obviously hasn't been in the NFL longer. Like Hurts, does throw a good deep ball, good scrambler too, but kind of like Jackson Dart, does not do a great job of protecting himself, especially given his frame. At least Dart's stocky. Look at Jaden Daniels. I mean, it's like he's thin. He's never going to be 230 pounds. So he's entering an interesting part of his career. Like, is he kind of on the C.J. Stroud train now, where he peaked as a rookie and now he's having to learn a pro-style offense, and we don't know how that's going to go. We don't know if he could stay healthy. It's a big year for Jaden Daniels. I'm taking Caleb over Daniels. He's more durable. I think the ceiling has and will continue to be higher. Daniels' rookie year is obviously better than either of Caleb's 2 years so far, but I just worry about Daniels aging moving forward. And I still don't know how confident we are in him just as like a week-to-week starter now. I mean, last year when he played, Cullen, it wasn't very good.
No, it wasn't. And I think this is one where I'd still hear out the argument. Like if you say I'd rather have Daniels over Caleb, I'd be willing to listen to it. The problem with Daniels is, yes, you mentioned it. Like he had the better year in terms of his rookie year than either of Caleb's first 2 years as a starter. The durability is a question, and how much of a rookie year are we going to get of that moving forward? Like, is he closer to that, guy that led the Commanders to the NFC title game, or is he closer to what he was last year, which was a guy who at times just didn't look like himself? He also was banged up last year, but he also just didn't really feel like he had that same command of the offense and that same kind of just confidence that he had his rookie years. So TBD, I would still ride with Caleb because, again, you're building off the momentum where Caleb's arrow trajectory is going up, whereas Jaden's slightly down after last year, maybe more than slightly. I would lead in Caleb, but Jaden Daniels does have a chance if he bounces back this year to maybe make it a conversation.
Yeah, it's not like the story is written here. I just think there's more checks in the Caleb Williams box coming off last year, and I still think there's more to reach for Caleb, whereas with Daniels, it's like we don't even know if he could play in a pro style. They're doing what Ben Johnson did last year with Caleb, challenging him to do all these new things that Jaden's – people forget, like Jaden – like Cliff Kingsbury, that's an offense that works quickly and in the short term. But it gets exposed over time, which is kind of what started to happen last year. Jaden wasn't playing as well. And in a lot of ways, I don't want to say he's starting over, but he kind of is. So, like, it's going to be interesting to see how that looks this year in Washington. All right, subscribe to the channel. We got a few more NFC divisions to get through, Caleb versus, but we go live every Monday and Thursday. We post daily content, short form, long term. Watch parties will be here before you know it, so subscribe, turn on notifications as well. Okay, NFC North, obviously just 3 other teams. Jared Goff. I think if you wanted to say I'd rather have Goff for 2026, I think that's a fair argument. I think you could go either way. I think I leaned Caleb. I think I actually had Caleb 10, Goff 11. On my just 2026 rankings, but I could hear the other way, no question about it. But like moving forward, I'm taking Caleb Williams. I think Goff will play for a while because he is a good pocket quarterback, but can't make the play after the play. You have to have very specific things in place for him to play at a high level. The protection's got to be really good. So I think Goff, when you're talking about like ceilings, how much more there is, like I think we've seen his best. Now, he's not declining necessarily, but I don't think there's more to find here with Jared Goff. I think he's actually done a pretty damn good job, Colin, of kind of like maximizing his ability, to be honest. Like, I think if you look at his career, it's like, yeah, he's a number 1 overall pick, but like, he doesn't have the elite of the elite tools. He's got good size, but good arm, not great arm, not mobile. He's kind of a throwback in today's NFL.
That he is, and you nailed it. I think he's maximized his talent. He does what he does at a very high level, which is operate in the pocket. He's able to navigate the pocket, make necessary throws, especially over the middle. And
great middle over the field thrower.
Yeah, like he is a guy that can run an offense at a high level. He does a really good job of pre-checks. That being said, if for whatever reason, whether it's the offensive coordinator's play call, whether the play gets broken down, a wrong route gets run, his ability to generate stuff off of structure is near the bottom of the league. And that's just unfortunately due to his lack of athleticism and lack of, kind of creativity that he has. That being said, you could argue this year you would have him over Caleb, but especially going forward with the contract, with the age, and with his ceiling kind of really maxed out, I don't really think it's a discussion.
Yeah, agreed.
Moving on to a known team for Bears fans and a known quarterback, Jordan Love. Who would you rather take, Caleb Williams or Jordan Love?
FGB in the comments, you know what to do. I'm taking Caleb. And I think Jordan Love is the better pocket guy right now. I think that's completely fair and valid. My problem with Jordan Love, and what would drive me a little insane as a Packers fan watching him, is you should get more out of him, out of structure, and as a scrambler. He plays as if he's Jared Goff, and what I mean by that is his play style is like, I can't make the play after the play, so he's almost stubborn in the way he sits in the pocket. It's like, dude, you're 6'3", you can move well. Why don't he just doesn't choose to do that? Now, I think most coaches would say, hey, just play in structure, and he does all that stuff. But to me, in today's NFL, the elite of the elite, they make the 3 to 5 plays a game that aren't built into the play, for a lack of a better phrase. And I don't, maybe he just can't do it. I don't know. But I feel like he kind of chooses not to. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because he's had a couple injuries pop up. He doesn't want to scramble. I'm not sure. He throws, I think his intermediate game is really good. He can throw vertically well. But I think his lack of just the play after the play stuff does limit the ceiling a little bit here, which is why I'm going to lean Caleb Williams. I think Love is further along as a pocket player. You also forget, too, he sat for 3 years, so he's now entering year 7. Mm-hmm. So, he's approaching 30 now, whereas Caleb's still 24. So, again, with kind of like with Goff, if you wanted to say you'd rather have Love for this year, fine, I'll hear it. But he's also had some durability concerns. So, good player, but I don't think his ceiling's as high because he's kind of just limited himself to being a pocket player at this point.
I think as a prototype, he's a really interesting player in theory. To me, he's somebody that, if I'm projecting moving forward, it's well, could he be this? Well, could he be that? Could he be a guy that challenges for top 5 in terms of quarterbacks in the NFL? I guess you could make that argument, but based on what we've seen, there's just been a lack of either continuity, confidence, or just overall consistent level of play that you're kind of wanting for him. And again, you mentioned it. He sat for those first few seasons and he just never will have those kind of just mental lapses of just, what was that? What is the thought process there? So I think
he's a spreadsheet quarterback.
Yeah.
You look at the data, the analytics, you're like, God, this guy's one of the best in the league. And then you watch him, and at times he's that, yes. But at other times you're like, I feel like Malik Willis is better than you right now. He's right. To me, he's too roller coastery for a guy that doesn't use his legs enough. If I'm going to be on the roller coaster a little bit, like we are at times with Caleb, at least he's going to give me those 3 or 4 plays a game where it's shit, not many can do that. Love doesn't really do that. He makes some wow throws, but it's all from within the pocket. So
yeah,
it's too up and down for me for a guy that doesn't give you a lot of explosive nature outside the pocket.
Would agree. Moving into the final NFC North quarterback that we're going to talk about here, and it is new Minnesota Vikings QB Kyler Murray. Caleb Williams or Kyler Murray?
Yeah, Kyler at his best. I think at times has played like a top 10 quarterback in the league, although it's been a while. You're clearly taking Caleb here. I think there's a world Kyler enters that top 15-ish conversation again. Good weapons around him. KOC, smart offensive coach. I do think KOC is going to have to adapt. He likes to run a lot of deep crossers. I'm not sure that really is in Kyler's game consistently. He's going to have to drop some more perimeter throws given his height. But, 30-ish now, 5'9", 5'10". Does he get the Russell Wilson syndrome, Colin, when the athleticism wanes? He's never going to be dynamic from the pocket consistently. So still think there's a world in the short term where he's a good player, but ceiling's always been limited given his height, and the inconsistent nature of his game has been there and will always be there. We have the data at this point. 7 years of starting, and he's had some injuries pop up too.
Yeah, the one thing that you could say and make the argument for Kyler in Minnesota is he's maybe playing with his best offensive mind that he's ever played with in the National Football League, combined with arguably the best receiving weapon in Justin Jefferson. So
sure.
There are tools to help him out. That being said, I think best case, if you're rooting for Kyler in Minnesota, is that he revitalizes his career to where, yes, you'll flirt with that elite status maybe, but you're never going to get, I think, a consistent day in and day out top 10 level guy that you believe in.
He always leaves you wanting more. It's just, there's always something left on the table. It kind of matches his personality, it feels like, where it's just he just has never quite gotten to where we wanted him to get to when he got drafted. So,
All right, moving on now to a star-studded quarterback division, Mr. Graham.
yeah, Tua, Michael Penix. Tua's the projected starter here. You're taking Caleb over both, with Penix, obviously, injuries, inconsistent play. Only really a pocket guy as it is. And for only being a pocket guy, he's not nearly accurate enough at this stage. Tua, at his best, gives you a decent floor. When he's at his best, he's a good decision maker, throws on time and accurately, but not much of a vertical thrower, gives you nothing out of structure. At his best, he's a worse Jared Goff. So,
my next question was honestly going to ask, moving forward, the best case scenario that you envision for Tua Tagovailoa, is it as good as Caleb Williams is right now?
No. I think Caleb last year gives you more than Tua can moving forward. Like raw stats might look better for Tua, but you can cheat forward when you're playing against them.
Yep.
If you can pressure him without blitzing, he really folds because he can't move. Best case scenario, he's like 80% of Jared Goff. And that's not going to cut it. So, decent floor, low ceiling quarterback. So, no. And I guess he's off his contract now, but if he still was under that contract, it's like that's worst contract in football. So, for a vet minimum, it's good value for Atlanta, but I think his best football is behind him. I also think Mike McDaniel squeezed everything out of Tua. And I think last year that's why he was like, I just can't do this anymore. It's just there's nothing more to reach with Tua.
No,
he's not going to get faster. He's not going to get a better arm. It's over. So
that it is. Moving in with the Carolina Panthers, Bryce Young, who there's been some takes with Bryce Young, but this one we're discussing Caleb Williams or Bryce Young.
Yeah, he's very, very polarizing. I'm lower on the totem pole with Bryce Young. Maybe I'm too harsh on him at times, but he doesn't have the traits. And he's had random big games here and there. He played really well against the Rams in the playoff game last year. When he's at his best, he delivers a good ball. He actually throws vertically pretty well, but I don't really know what a best case scenario is. He got Drew Brees comps coming out, but I thought that was egregious at the time. He's not a great athlete. He doesn't have a great arm. And when you have that combo, you need to be really accurate. He hasn't been that accurate. He's a low 60s guy with not much of an explosive nature to his game. So I think at best he's a top 20 guy moving forward. I think Caleb's better than him now. I think he's better moving forward. If he gets paid, that's even worse. So, yeah, I think he's, I think he can be a little better than current Tua, but I don't know how much better he can get given his physical attributes.
One of the things that I really missed on when he was coming out of Alabama, I thought he'd be a better athlete than what he is in the NFL. Because at Alabama, he showed signs of it. I'm not saying he was, Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson coming out of college, but there was some he's got some escapability here where he can maybe extend plays. That has not been the case.
He's not a bad athlete, but if you're going to be 5'10", to be a high-level starter, you need to be Kyler athletic.
Yes. And he is not that. So
he's an above-average athlete. He's not an elite athlete.
Not by any means. So I think it's pretty easy for Caleb there. It's kind of funny when you say this. A young quarterback in Tyler Shuck out of New Orleans, even though for a prospect when he was coming out.
Who's 2.5 years older than Caleb Williams.
Yes.
He's almost 27.
Caleb or Shuck?
Yeah, Caleb, he's younger. Shuck's better than I thought. Small sample size, but I like what I saw. You on a small sample size, you could actually argue he might be a little bit better in the pocket, but I think he's already pretty close to his ceiling. I don't,
yes.
For being a decent athlete, he doesn't really scare you as an athlete, if that makes sense. Listen, for New Orleans to get him in the second round, he's cheap QB labor. They needed that badly given their cap situation, so it's kind of perfect timing for them. I don't know if he's the long-term answer there, but yeah, I'm not taking him over Caleb Williams. I think he could end up being one of those guys. Does he have an Andy Dalton type of career where it's okay, you got 8 good years out of him as a starter. He never quite got you to a level you were hoping for, but you got production there. Could he be that? Could he have that type of career? Andy Dalton, better arm. I could see something like that, but I don't think he's ever a top 10 guy.
I think the true testament of whether he succeeded will be, does he get a second contract from New Orleans?
Yes.
Like, that to me is his question, not whether or not he can be the level of a Caleb Williams. So I will take Caleb in that as well. Finally, NFC South, a quarterback who really didn't meet expectations last year as long as his team. That was Baker Mayfield and Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
A year ago, I took Baker in this spot. I'm not this year. Part of that is Baker didn't have a great year due to injury, but it's also he's a year older. Caleb showed major signs of growth. Caleb's just got more star power ceiling attributes. You know, they have relatively similar builds, but Caleb is a much stronger physical athlete. He's also a lot faster than Baker, and he has a bigger arm. So, and he's not as turnover prone as Baker is. Even Baker at his best will throw a lot of picks. He's kind of a Brett Favre type. Caleb does not throw a lot of picks. So Baker, I think he'll bounce back, but at this stage, I'm taking Caleb moving forward.
Will they get a contract done with Mayfield before his kind of set deadline? Remains to be seen.
Got about 3 weeks. I mean, unless he extends that deadline. He said if it's not done by camp, I am not signing an extension. I'm playing the last year out, so that'll be a fascinating storyline.
Yeah, feels like another guy who's probably hit his ceiling. So moving into Mr. Holdout and the Arizona Cardinals. Still can't believe that was a headline that we've talked about this offseason. It's none other than Jacoby Brissett.
Jacoby Brissett, Carson Beck, Gardner Minshew, doesn't matter. The answer is Caleb Williams, obviously. I think the only intrigue here is, do we see Carson Beck this year? And if we do, can he show enough for them to not draft a quarterback high next year? So, yeah, not much discussion to be had on this one.
Go get your bread, Brissett.
Get that pay raise, brother.
Get the payday. Moving on to the reigning defending league MVP, Matthew Stafford.
I actually took Caleb over Stafford last year, and part of that was there was a lot of chatter it was going to be his last year. Now, he has an MVP year. He was healthy, so he's probably going to play at least 1, maybe 2 more years. I'm still taking Caleb over him because the runway is just not long enough. If he was 34, 33 instead of 37, 38, it would be a discussion because I'd be like, okay, if I get 5 elite years, I might take that. But at most, I'm probably getting 2. So I'll take Caleb Williams. Clearly, if this is a conversation just for 2026, you're taking Stafford. But given all the factors, contract, age, etc., you take the 24-year-old.
Remember that phantom back injury that he had?
Just went away.
Yeah, just went away.
Remember, it was like, he may not play.
Yeah. I mean,
was that just a fake story so he didn't have to do training camp? If he came out and did like a Rams documentary and was like, yeah, I just wanted to hang out with the fam, I could believe that.
Some conspiracy theorists are out there saying maybe he had some off the books, little regen surgery just to prolong his NFL career or something. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate, but it sort of out there.
That was bizarre.
That being said, unbelievable year from Stafford last year, but obviously with age and everything, you would take Caleb.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy.
I like Brock Purdy. I don't love that turnovers have crept into his game, but for not having elite physical tools, he actually does generate explosives. He's very creative. He can play out of structure. Like, he's much better out of structure than Jordan Love, for example, despite not being as physically gifted. He throws the ball with a really nice touch. He layers the football well. I would probably take his floor over Caleb's, even though I think Caleb's floor is pretty high now. But he's never going to be able to just, fit the ball into windows that Caleb can. Caleb's younger. Brock's making $54 million per year now. The answer is Caleb here, but I have a lot of respect for what Brock Purdy's been able to squeeze out of his career so far. No question about it.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen what he looks like with, obviously, Shanahan. You had Trent Williams. You've had numerous amounts of talent surrounding him. That being said, Brock Purdy has more than held his own weight in San Francisco's offense. I don't know how much higher he can get. You could make the argument that he's anywhere kind of similar to where Caleb's ranked in that 8 to 13. Maybe a little bit lower range.
But he's also staying there.
Yes,
he's not going to be 3 or something. Right. Well, and I think a good example here, too, of why you take Caleb Williams is Brock Purdy giving you the explosive nature that Caleb even though it was inconsistent in the 2 playoff games,
Right.
in those weather conditions?
Yes.
The answer is probably a no. And a good
Right.
example of that is when they played the Bills a couple years ago in a blizzard. He couldn't complete passes. They got absolutely smoked because Josh Allen, his physical specimen, that's where the elite separate is weather doesn't matter. Caleb can play in all conditions. Purdy, if it's strong rain or snow, certainly it's going to be problematic.
Any of that,
Wind, yeah.
I mean, Windy City comes up to Chicago. He doesn't stand a chance.
Yeah. So.
Exactly. All right, last starting quarterback here, and it's none other than reigning Super Bowl champion. I don't know why that just randomly got thrown in there. Sam Darnold.
Your guy, Sam Darnold. I actually ranked him 1 spot ahead of Caleb for 2026 only. Listen, if you add up the last 2 years of just who have been the best quarterbacks the last 2 years, he's fringe top 5. He really is. He was great in Minnesota, even though he folded late in the year, and he was really good in Seattle last year and elevated in the playoffs. I think that's where he's now entered some level of a status where, moving forward, he's back into the top 10. But he's 30. He doesn't give you quite the physical upside Caleb Williams does. There is some of the scarring still there from earlier years. He's been in great situations the past couple years. So moving forward, I'm still taking Caleb. Also, if you're projecting, he's about to get a fat contract too. So Sam Darnold at $35 million, it's this is awesome. Is it still awesome at 60? We'll see. But he's earned my respect, and he's still young enough where he can have a really long runway and good career here. But I would still take Caleb.
Age 29 for the viewers at home, because he is 29. He'll turn 30 next year. But
okay.
No, listen, my young goat. He's not even young anymore. It's crazy the fact that he came in the league so young, bounced around everything, and now he's stabilized to where he is now and where he's talked about as potentially a top 10 guy. I think if he were to have a similar level year next year with a third offensive coordinator, could he be just in that range of okay, this guy is for sure a top 10 guy? One could make the argument.
Yeah.
But I think given the fact that he is a late bloomer and the fact that while there's certain things that he could grow in his game, Caleb Williams, especially with the ceiling, and he's on a younger contract, not that Darnold's really on a bad contract, you would still take Caleb Williams moving forward if you're an NFL franchise.
Yeah, and Darnold, even though it went away in the playoff run last year, he still has these moments of ooh, that wasn't
worrisome.
Good. He still puts the ball in harm's way, but he does generate a lot of big plays. So
no doubt about it.
Certainly a conversation to be had there. So last year, Caleb was 10th in this exercise. Now he's up to 4th with about 3 or 4 other guys that could have gone the other way. Lamar and Herbert, certainly you could have gone here. So maybe I think Caleb's range in this exercise is 4 to 7. Drake May as well. Lamar, May, and Herbert you could have put ahead of them. But listen, I had him 10 last year, and I think people were I don't know. 4 this year, I'm sure I'll get some sideways looks again. But I think the trajectory is there, and the upside. There's still a lot to reach with Caleb Williams. So there you have it. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, guys, I would for sure take ahead of Caleb. A few others I considered, but he comes in the 4 slot. What about you guys? How many quarterbacks, when you factor in age, short-term and long-term contract, projected contract, etc., would you guys take ahead of Caleb Williams? Let me know down in the comments. About an hour-long episode, so shout out to Cullen for doing this with me. Long one today. And we'll be back with more content for you guys soon, so subscribe and bear down.
Whew.
All right.
Marathon.
We went longer this year.
Well,
it's a fun conversation.
I had to talk about, just everything. It is July.
It's July.
We got a lot of room to talk.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Hopefully.
Let us know, obviously, this question, how many quarterbacks you would take ahead of Caleb, but also, too, was there any disagreements that you had, if any? I mean, Harry, I thought, gave Caleb a pretty fair ranking, but...
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely probably on the higher end with those parameters, but
I think
when you factor in all of that, I don't see how you could put him lower than 8.
Yeah.
Given his age, the trajectory.
Yeah.
I think 3 or 4 to 8 is the proper range, and I'm obviously on the high end of that range. So I think you said 2. You would have done Herbert and
May. I think
May.
those are the 2 that I pushed back on.
So you would have had him 6, yeah. And then if you throw in Lamar too, to me, I don't see how you go below 7 when you factor everything in. So,
yeah.
Hyperbaric chamber.
That was the Stafford talk. He got him in a hyperbaric chamber. Some were saying, he got some maybe some mystery surgery last year. Maybe cleared some things up.
Maybe some what is it in Friday Night Lights? Some Spanish blood that they were going to try to give to Jason Street.
Maybe.
No, shark blood.
Oh, shark blood.
In Mexico. That's what it was.
That's what it was.
Great show. All right, we're out of here. Hey, this stream is going to redirect to our main Chat Sports World Cup stream. USA. We'll see if the red, white, and blue, the boys can get it done. Jeffrey Cooperstein, Sam Brown going to take it away here. When we sign off, it'll redirect you to that stream, so hang tight and check out the World Cup game, and we'll see you guys soon. Bear down.